in a city where the night never truly ended, where tall glass towers touched the sky and neon lights painted the streets. Humans and vampires walked side by side but never trusted each other. Peace existed only as a thin line, ready to break at any moment. He was a young human, ordinary in many eyes, yet his mind was sharp and his courage was quiet. His name was not written in history books, but his heart was strong. He never believed humans were weak. Even though vampires said so every day, she was the vampire princess, born with beauty that could silence a room, her skin pale as silver, her eyes glowing like red fire, her voice like music yet filled with arrogance. She was known across the empire as untouchable above all, and she believed it too. Humans feared her, vampires worshipped her. She had power that few could match. Her gift was strange even among vampires. She could bend energy, break steel with her mind, and no one dared question her orders. She was arrogant because she could be, and no one had ever challenged her. But one night, under the glow of artificial moons that floated above the city, she accepted something unusual, a meeting not with a lord or a warrior, but with a human boy. The boy stood in the royal gardens, a place forbidden to humans. The air smelled of rare flowers, their petals glowing faintly in the dark. Guards whispered at the edges, shocked at the foolish human who dared stand there, waiting. Then she appeared, the princess herself, her black dress floating like shadows, her long hair shining under the neon sky, her steps slow and royal, her face full of pride. She looked at him as if he were nothing more than dust on her boots. "You are brave or very stupid," she said, her voice smooth but sharp. "Humans do not belong here," the boy smiled. Not mocking, not fearful, but calm. "Maybe humans belong everywhere, even in the places vampires claim as theirs." The guards stiffened. No one spoke to the princess like that, yet she raised her hand and silenced them. Her eyes narrowed, a spark of curiosity hidden deep inside. She walked closer, her presence heavy like storm clouds. "Do you know who I am, human?" she asked, her voice soft but carrying the weight of 1,000 threats. "You are the princess," he answered simply, "but you are also just a person, aren't you?" For the first time in centuries she laughed, but the laugh was cold. "A person," she repeated. "Humans are fragile, weak, nothing but prey dressed in cheap clothes." She circled him like a predator circling its meal. "And yet you speak as if you are my equal." The boy did not step back, his eyes steady. "Maybe I am," he said, "because feelings make us strong. And maybe that is something vampires forgot." Her smile faded. The word feelings cut deeper than any blade. Vampires did not speak of such things. Emotions were chains, or so they were told. She opened her mouth to insult him again. But then something happened. Her hand, pale and perfect, began to glow, soft at first, like a candle, then brighter, a faint light spilling from her skin, glowing in the darkness of the royal garden. The guards gasped. Some stepped back, others fell to their knees in fear. The princess looked at her hand in shock. Never in her life had this happened. Vampires were creatures of shadow. They did not glow. They did not shine. Her eyes locked on the boy, her voice trembling though she tried to hide it. "What is this?" she whispered, more to herself than to him. He looked at her hand, then back at her, his expression calm though his heart raced. "Maybe it is what happens when you start to feel." She pulled her hand back quickly, as if burned. Her glow faded, but the fear in her eyes did not. Fear was new to her. Unwanted, she was the arrogant princess, the ruler of shadows, yet in front of this human, something inside her was breaking. Or perhaps awakening. She turned her back, her voice harsh to cover her confusion. "This means nothing," she said. "You are nothing." And this meeting never happened. She began to walk away. But she could still feel his eyes on her, calm, steady, unafraid as she left. The boy whispered softly, words only the wind seemed to carry. Even the brightest star was once hidden in the dark. Her steps slowed for just a moment. Her heart, once silent, gave a strange beat, but she kept walking, vanishing into the shadows of the palace, her mind burning with questions she refused to ask. That night, for the first time in her immortal life, the vampire princess could not sleep. She saw the glow of her hand again and again. She heard the human's words echo inside her, and she felt something dangerous, something forbidden, something that could change everything. And deep within the city, whispers began to spread. Whispers of the princess who glowed in the dark. Whispers of a human who made her change. Whispers that could shake the fragile peace between humans and vampires forever. The forbidden date had only just begun, but already the world would never be the same. The next night arrived, and the city shined as it always did. Neon rivers flowing through the streets, tall towers glowing like crystal teeth. Humans rushed in the lower levels, and vampires ruled the higher halls in the heart of the palace. The vampire princess sat on a throne made of dark steel, her chin raised, her eyes sharp, her expression colder than the frozen stars. She wanted the world to forget the strange glow that happened in the gardens. She wanted herself to forget, but the memory did not die. It clung to her like fire that refused to go out. Servants bowed low, never meeting her eyes. Nobles whispered at a distance, afraid of her temper. She ruled the court with arrogance that had been carved into her since birth. She believed she was more than human, beyond weakness. She had been told this since the day she first opened her eyes. When a human dared to cross her, she crushed him without mercy. When a vampire lord questioned her, she silenced him with a single thought. Bending the air until he begged for life, she was feared. And fear was the language she understood best. But now something inside her felt unsettled, a weakness she refused to name. A single human boy had planted it. With his calm voice, his fearless eyes, and his words about feelings, she stood from her throne, her black dress trailing like shadows. She walked through the long hall, her steps echoing like thunder. The nobles moved aside as if death itself was passing by. Her mind replayed the moment. His face, his smile, his foolish courage. She told herself she hated it. She told herself he was nothing. Yet deep down she wondered, why did her hand glow? Why did her chest burn when he spoke at the training arena? She found a group of vampire warriors, their bodies strong, their fangs sharp. They bowed as she entered. She raised her hand. "Fight me," she commanded. They hesitated, but no one refused her. 4 warriors stepped forward, their eyes burning. They lunged with speed faster than bullets, claws striking, fangs flashing. She moved like a shadow, bending energy, breaking steel with her mind. Their claws stopped midair, twisted, shattered. Her hand cut through the air, and their bodies slammed to the ground. She defeated them without breaking a breath. The crowd cheered, the warriors bowed in pain, and she smiled coldly, arrogance glowing stronger than the lights above. But then as she stood tall, her hand shimmered faintly again, a soft glow that only she noticed. Her smile froze. Her heart pounded once, hard, unwanted. She clenched her fist, forcing the glow to fade. She whispered to herself, "This is weakness," yet her voice trembled. Later that night, she stood by her tall window, the city stretching endless below her. She saw humans moving, living, laughing, loving, emotions that vampires called foolish. Yet why did those emotions create strength in them? Why did they survive every cruelty? Her thoughts returned to the boy, the human who dared to stand against her. She hated him, she wanted to crush him. Yet part of her wanted to see him again, to ask him why he was not afraid, to ask him how he spoke of feelings with such power. As she stood lost in thought, a voice broke her silence. "Your Highness," it was an old vampire lord, his eyes sharp like knives. Rumors spread. "They say you glowed in the dark, they say a human was near you." She turned, her eyes burning red, her voice sharp. "Rumors are lies," she said coldly. "Speak them again, and I will erase your tongue." The old lord bowed, but a smile flickered on his lips. "As you wish, princess, but the court whispers. The king will not ignore this forever." Then he slipped away into the shadows. She stood still, her anger hot, her pride even hotter. She could not let them see her doubt. She could not let them know she had changed. But deep inside, she knew the truth. The glow was real. The feelings were real, and they were growing stronger. The next evening, against her own will, she returned to the garden, the same forbidden place. The flowers glowing faintly, the night air heavy. She told herself it was to prove she was stronger, to prove the glow was nothing, and there he was, the human boy waiting again, calm, fearless as if he knew she would come. Her eyes narrowed, her voice cold. "You are bold to stand here again. Do you think I will not kill you?" He looked at her. Steady, his voice gentle. "If you wanted to kill me, you already would have." Her chest tightened. She stepped closer, her arrogance burning. "You think I am weak," she whispered. "You think your words mean anything to me?" He shook his head. "No, I think you are strong. But strength without feelings is empty." She froze, his words cut into her again. Her hand trembled, the glow returned, brighter this time, spilling across her skin like living light. The guards gasped, the flowers reflected her glow. She looked at her hand with horror, then at him. Her lips parted, but no words came. For the first time in her immortal life, the arrogant princess felt something she could not control. And the human boy, standing quietly, had become the mirror that showed her who she really was, The night was silent, yet the world had shifted again. And deep in her heart, a storm of feelings began to rise. The city never truly slept. Neon rivers flowed. Flying ships cut across the sky. Humans and vampires lived together but apart, always watching, never trusting, and in the heart of this city, a secret was growing inside the vampire princess. Her glow had returned, and this time it was no accident. It happened again and again at night when she thought of him, when she remembered his calm eyes, his fearless words. Her skin shined with soft light, faint at first, then brighter, as if her very blood had turned into stars. She tried to hide it, wrapping her hands in black gloves, staying away from the court, but rumors had already begun. Whispers spread like wildfire through vampire halls. The princess glows. The princess feels. The princess is changing. At first she laughed at them, cold and sharp, but when she was alone, she stared at her hands, the glow reflected in her red eyes, and for the first time fear lived in her heart. Vampires did not glow, vampires did not feel. They were creatures of the night, made strong by removing all weakness, and yet she, the most gifted princess, was breaking those rules one evening. She was called to a meeting with the alien scientist, the one who had lived for centuries, the one who had helped create the first vampires long ago. He was old, his body thin, his eyes bright with knowledge not of this world. He looked at her as she entered the chamber, his voice calm but heavy. "Princess, I heard the stories. Tell me, is it true?" She stood tall, her pride a shield. "Lies," she said. "Humans make up foolish tales," but the scientist smiled. "Slow and knowing. I was there when vampires were born. I know what burns in your blood. The glow is no lie. And the feelings you try to bury, they are no lie either." Her eyes narrowed, her voice sharp. "Feelings are weakness, no," the old alien said, shaking his head. "Feelings are strength. It was the kings who stripped them away. It was the rulers who made you empty. Because empty soldiers are easier to control." Her heart pounded. Her glow sparked faintly at her fingertips. She clenched her fists to hide it, but the scientist saw. His eyes shined. "Yes," he whispered. "You cannot stop it. The human awakened it in you, and soon others will follow." She turned away, her pride wounded, her voice cold. "I do not need humans. I do not need feelings," but inside her chest trembled. That same night, she walked again to the forbidden garden, drawn as if by chains she could not break, and there he was, waiting as always, the human boy who dared to meet her eyes. "You should fear me," she told him, her glow flickering in her palms. "Yet you keep standing here," he smiled, gentle but steady. "I do not fear you because I see more than the princess. I see the person you are trying to hide." Her jaw tightened. She wanted to strike him, to silence him. Yet her hand only glowed brighter, shining like moonlight on water. Around them the flowers glowed in answer, their petals shimmering in her light. The guards whispered nervously. Afraid to even breathe, the boy stepped closer, his voice low but strong. "This is not weakness, this is you. This is what vampires were meant to be. Not shadows but light." Her chest burned. Her heart gave another heavy beat. She hated the feeling. She loved it too. It was wild, confusing, dangerous, but then from the shadows, a rival vampire lord stepped into the garden, his eyes cruel, his smile sharp. He had followed the whispers. He had seen enough. "So it is true," the rival sneered. "The princess glows like a candle." "And all because of a human toy." The guards froze. Unsure, the boy stood still, but the princess turned, her glow flashing bright with rage. "Watch your tongue," she hissed. But the rival only laughed. "You are no princess. You are a broken doll glowing with weakness. And when the king hears, he will cast you aside." Her anger flared, her power surged. The air shook as her energy bent steel around them. Her glow burst across her body, shining like a living flame, every eye blinded for a moment. The rival stepped back, fear flickering in his gaze. He had never seen a vampire glow. Not like this, not with such power. The boy spoke softly, his words carrying through the silence. "Your glow is not weakness, it is your strength. Show them." The princess raised her hand, her glow wrapping around the rival like chains of light. He fell to his knees, choking, his arrogance gone. She released him, letting him crawl away in shame. The guards bowed their heads, afraid, confused, shaken. The princess stood tall, glowing brighter than the garden itself, her eyes fierce but her heart heavy, for she knew this was only the beginning. She turned to the boy, her voice low. "You have done this to me." He met her gaze, calm as always. "No, you have done this to yourself. I only reminded you of what was already inside." Her glow dimmed slowly, fading back into her skin. But her mind did not quiet. The truth hunted her. The whispers grew louder, and deep in her soul she knew the glow would return again and again, until she accepted what she truly was. And far away in the tall throne room of the king, the whispers reached the ears of her father. His eyes dark as night, his voice cold as death. "Bring me the princess. It is time she remembers what it means to be vampire." The city was restless. Whispers spread faster than fire in the wind. The princess glows, the princess feels. The princess changes, and while humans listened with fear, vampires whispered with anger. For them, change was danger in the palace garden. The princess stood in silence, her hands covered with black gloves, hiding the glow that refused to vanish, but her mind was not silent. It burned with the memory of the rival lord, the shame he tried to place on her, the fear in his eyes when her glow blinded him. Beside her, the human boy stood calm, as if the weight of the vampire empire meant nothing. He looked at the neon sky, the glowing flowers, the endless towers, then at her, his voice gentle but steady. "You are stronger when you stop hiding." Her lips curled in annoyance, pride rising. "You speak as if you know strength. But you are only human." He met her eyes without fear. "Strength is not always in blood. Sometimes it is in heart. Sometimes it is in choice." Before she could answer, heavy footsteps shook the garden path. Armored vampires arrived, their leader a tall warrior with eyes like cold iron, his voice harsh. "By the order of the king, the human is to be taken. He corrupts the princess. He poisons her mind." The guards moved forward, claws sharp, fangs ready. The princess raised her hand to stop them. But the leader spoke again. "If you defend him, you prove the rumors true." Her chest tightened, anger burned, but before she could act, the human stepped forward, his voice firm. "I do not need her to protect me." The vampires laughed, cruel and sharp. "You, a human, will fight us," one mocked. "You will die before you take a step." But the boy's eyes stayed calm, his hands empty. No claws, no fangs. No power, only courage. The princess watched, her glow sparking faintly under her gloves. Her pride told her to mock him, to call him foolish, but another part of her, the part that remembered his words, stayed silent. The vampire warriors circled him. Fast as shadows, one lunged, claws aimed for his chest. But the boy moved quick. Not with power, but with cleverness. He ducked, using the warrior's speed against him. The vampire crashed into the stone wall. Another leapt, fangs bared. The boy grabbed a loose metal rod from the garden fence, twisted his body, and struck at just the right angle. The vampire stumbled back, hissing in pain. The crowd of guards gasped. Even the princess widened her eyes. For no human should stand against trained vampires, yet this boy did. He was not stronger, but he was smarter. Every move was sharp. Every strike used their own strength against them. He was not fighting like a soldier. He was surviving like a human. The leader growled, stepping forward, his claws glowing with dark energy. "Enough games, human," he roared, striking with a blow that could tear steel apart. The boy dodged, barely. The ground cracked under the strike. He stumbled but kept his balance. His chest rose and fell, sweat on his face. But his eyes still fearless, the princess felt her chest burn, her heart beating harder than ever. She wanted to stop it, to bend the leader to the ground with her power, but she did not. She watched, her glow trembling beneath her gloves. The boy raised his rod again, his voice steady. "I may not have fangs. I may not have claws, but I will not bow." The leader lunged again, faster, deadlier. But the boy twisted at the last second. Using the rod as leverage, he slammed it into the warrior's leg. The vampire crashed to the ground. Silence filled the garden. The guards stared in disbelief. The princess's lips parted, her glow broke free. Shining through her gloves, her pride shattered by something new. The leader snarled, humiliated. But before he could rise, the princess stepped forward, her glow bursting across the garden. "Enough," she commanded, her voice like thunder. "He has proven himself. More than any of you." The guards fell to their knees. Unable to meet her light, the leader crawled back, defeated. The princess turned to the boy, her eyes fierce, her glow bright. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you fight when you know you can die?" He looked at her, calm even in exhaustion. "Because life means nothing if you live it in fear." Her chest ached. The words struck deeper than any blade. Her heart pounded with something she could no longer deny. That night, when the garden was empty, she stood alone with him, her voice softer than ever before. "You are foolish, human. Foolish to risk your life," he smiled faintly. Maybe. But sometimes foolishness is the only way to change the world. She looked at him. Truly looked, and for the first time in her long, immortal life, the arrogant princess felt something that shook her to her core. Not fear, not anger, but respect. And as the neon sky burned above them, and the glow of her skin lit the dark, she knew the boy had stood tall not just for himself, but for her. And that truth was more terrifying than any enemy. Far above in the throne room of the king, shadows moved, his eyes cold as stone, his voice like ice. The human lives the princess defies, this cannot continue. Bring them both before me. The throne hall of the vampire empire was a place of shadow and fear, its pillars carved from black stone, its walls glowing faintly with red veins of energy. The floor stretched endless, polished like a mirror that reflected only darkness. At the far end, the king sat, tall, unmoving, his crown sharp like blades, his eyes colder than the void between stars. He was not just ruler. He was the weight pressing down on every vampire heart. His word was law, his silence was death. On this night the court gathered. Nobles filled the hall, warriors stood armed. Whispers filled the air, whispers of the glowing princess, whispers of the human who stood beside her. Whispers that could shatter the empire. The heavy doors opened and the princess entered, her black dress trailing like liquid night, her steps slow but strong behind her. 2 guards dragged the human boy in chains, his wrists bound, his face calm. Even as the crowd's eyes burned with hatred, gasps filled the air. Not because of the human, but because of her. Faint light escaped her gloves, a glow that she could not completely hide. Nobles whispered louder. The rumors are true, she shines. She feels, the king raised his hand. And silence fell like stone. His voice rolled across the hall, deep and sharp. Daughter princess of my blood. You stand accused of betrayal. Her chin rose. Her eyes locked on his. I betrayed nothing, she said. Her voice steady, but her heart pounded with fire. The king's gaze shifted to the boy. And you, human, you poisoned her. You turned her against her own kind. His tone dripped with disgust. For that you will die. The guards shoved the boy forward. Chains rattling, but still. He did not bow, his voice calm though soft. I poisoned nothing, I only spoke the truth. A ripple of shock passed through the nobles. No human had ever dared to speak before the king. The princess stepped forward quickly, her glow flickering brighter. Father, he is not guilty. If I changed, it is because I chose to. The hall shook with outrage. Nobles shouted. Warriors hissed. Some even dropped to one knee in fear. Others cried for her punishment. The king's eyes narrowed, his voice a blade. You admit your corruption, she froze. Her pride fought to speak. Her fear begged to stay silent, but her heart, wild and new, forced the words. I admit nothing but the truth I felt, and feelings did not weaken me. They made me stronger. Her glow burst brighter, spilling across her hands, her arms. The light reflected on every wall. The nobles shielded their eyes, fear rising in their throats. The king rose from his throne, his voice thunder. You shame our blood. You dare bring human weakness into our halls? The boy stepped forward. Guards holding him back, his voice cutting through the noise. It is not weakness, it is what you fear most. Because feelings make them more than shadows, and shadows cannot rule forever. The hall erupted. Nobles shouting, warriors readying weapons. The princess's glow filled the chaos like fire spreading through dry wood. The king raised his hand and silence crashed again. His eyes burned into hers. Choose, he said coldly. Your blood, or the human, your throne, or your shame. Her breath caught. Her chest burned. She felt every eye upon her. Her pride screamed to choose power. Her fear screamed to choose silence. But her heart, the heart she once denied, thundered inside her. She looked at the boy, chained but unbroken, his eyes calm, steady, fearless, and she knew the choice was already made. She pulled off her gloves, letting the glow burst free, brighter than ever, filling the throne hall with silver fire. Nobles cried out. Shadows fled from the light. Even the king's eyes narrowed against the glow. I choose myself, she said, her voice echoing across the hall. Not your throne, not your fear, not your lies. I am more than your chains. The king's fury shook the air, energy ripped across the throne. But the glow around her held strong, stronger than ever before. The boy smiled faintly, even in chains. Now they see, he whispered. The king pointed at him, his voice like a storm. Then the human dies, and you will watch. The guards dragged him to his knees, fangs ready, blades raised, but before they could strike, The princess's glow exploded outward, a wave of light slamming through the hall. Guards thrown back, weapons shattered. Her voice thundered stronger than fear. "Touch him." "And you touch me." The hall shook. Cracks split the black stone, nobles fled, warriors stumbled, and for the first time in centuries, the king's throne trembled. The boy rose slowly, chains broken by her light, his eyes met hers, and in that moment the hall knew the princess was no longer only vampire, she was something new. But the king did not retreat, his voice deep with rage. "If you defy me, then you are no daughter of mine, and I will crush you both." The court held its breath, fear and awe clashing in the air. The princess stood glowing, the boy stood tall, and the king's shadow stretched across them. The judgment was not over, it had only begun, and the empire itself now hung in the balance. The throne hall still trembled, smoke rising from cracked stone. Nobles scattered into the shadows, warriors stood uncertain. None dared step closer, and at the center of it all the princess glowed like a living star, her human companion standing free beside her. The king's fury filled the air. His voice thundered, "You betray your blood. You betray the throne. You betray the night itself." His power surged, shadows twisting, black energy crawling across the floor like living snakes. But before the clash could explode again, another voice broke the silence, calm, steady, older than all of them. "Enough." From the far doors the alien scientist entered, his thin figure wrapped in pale robes, his eyes glowing faint with strange knowledge. His steps slow but fearless, every noble lowered their gaze. For though he was not a ruler, he was older than kings. The king's eyes narrowed, sharp and dangerous. "You dare interrupt judgment?" The alien bowed lightly, but his voice stayed steady. "I do more than dare, I bring truth. Truth you buried long ago." The princess's glow flickered. Her breath caught. She remembered his words from before, the whispers of feeling stripped away. She knew he carried something deeper, something the king feared. The alien stepped into the light, his voice carrying across the hall. "You call emotions weakness, you call feeling shame. But I was there when vampires were created, I saw the design. I wrote the code of your blood," gasps echoed. The nobles whispered, created, the word shook them, but none dared speak it louder. The alien raised his thin hand, his eyes burning. Vampires were born from human flesh and alien craft. They were shaped, altered, sharpened into weapons, but they were never meant to be hollow. They were never meant to be empty. Feelings were the core, not the flaw. The hall roared with confusion. Some shouted denial, others whispered fear. The king's voice cut through like thunder. "Lies." But the alien did not flinch. His gaze locked on the princess. "The glow is proof. The human awoke what was buried, what your father and his fathers before him stole. Emotions, love, pain, joy. These are not chains, they are the true gift. The gift you were denied." The princess's glow brightened. Her heart thundered. The truth pressed against her pride, breaking the walls she built for centuries. "So I am not broken," she whispered. "I am becoming what I was meant to be." The alien nodded slowly. "Yes, and you are the first but not the last. Others will follow once they see, once they feel." The king's shadow rose, black energy twisting, his fury sharp enough to split stone. "No, I will not allow my empire to drown in weakness. I will not allow my children to turn soft. Emotions destroy, they do not build." The boy stepped forward, chains still hanging broken from his wrists, his voice calm but firm. "No, it is fear that destroys. You fear your own people. You fear what they might become if they are free, if they feel." The king's eyes snapped to him, cold and hateful. "And you, human, you are the spark of this corruption. You think you have given her strength, but you only make her weak." The princess stepped between them, her glow shining brighter, her voice fierce. "No, father. He did not make me weak, he made me strong, stronger than I have ever been. Stronger than you can understand." The hall shook with her words. Nobles stepped back. Warriors lowered their weapons, not from command, but from awe. The glow reached them, touched them, and for the first time, some of them felt their own hearts stir. The alien spread his hands, his voice calm but unshakable. "The truth is out now. King, you cannot bury it, you cannot chain it. Your throne was built on silence, but silence cannot hold forever. The light has returned." The king's fury erupted, his voice shaking the hall. "Then I will crush the light, I will crush her. And I will crush you." Shadows rose, blades of black energy tearing through the air. The princess lifted her glowing hands. The boy stood tall at her side. The alien watched with calm eyes. as if he already knew how the future would unfold. The clash did not yet come, but the line had been drawn. The princess had chosen, the alien had revealed, the boy had stood tall, and the king had declared war that night. When the court finally broke apart, the nobles fleeing in silence, the princess and the boy walked side by side through the empty halls. Her glow faint now, soft but still burning. Her voice trembled but steady. If the alien speaks truth, then my people were stolen from themselves, our hearts caged, our light buried. The boy looked at her, his voice quiet but strong. Then maybe you are the one meant to set them free. Her chest ached. Her pride burned, but her heart agreed deep inside. She knew the king's shadow would not stop. He would hunt them both. But she also knew the glow would grow stronger, and she would not face it alone. In the distance, the alien scientist stood on a high balcony, his eyes watching the stars, his lips whispering words none could hear. At last the beginning returns, at last. The design awakens, and far below in the streets of the city, whispers spread among humans and vampires alike. Whispers of a princess who glowed in the dark. Whispers of a human who stood without fear. Whispers of truth long buried, now breaking free. The city burned with whispers. The glow of the princess was no longer a rumor. It was a truth that spread across every tower, across every street. Humans spoke of hope, vampires spoke of fear, and in the throne hall of shadows, the king prepared for war. He summoned his loyal lords, his strongest warriors, his army of darkness, and his voice thundered across the palace. The princess has turned against us, the human has poisoned her blood. If we do not end this now, our empire will crumble. Our power will fall, the nobles bowed. Afraid, but not all of them believed. Some remembered the glow in their hearts, a strange beat they had not felt in centuries. Far away in the hidden chambers of the palace, the princess stood with the human boy, her glow faint but steady, her eyes burning with conflict. She knew what her father demanded. She knew what her people expected, but for the first time, she also knew what her own heart wanted. The boy placed a hand on her arm, his voice soft but strong. He will make you choose. Throne or freedom, him or me. But the truth is, the choice has already been made. She looked at him, pride fighting her, fear whispering in her mind. But her glow betrayed her, shining brighter with every breath. I do not know if I can face him, she whispered. He is the king, he is my father. The boy's eyes stayed steady. Then don't face him as his daughter, face him as yourself. Her heart pounded. Her hands trembled, but the words filled her with fire. The doors of the throne hall opened once more. The princess entered, glowing like silver flame, the human at her side, the alien scientist watching from the shadows, silent but knowing. The king rose, his black crown burning with shadow, his voice cold as stone. Daughter, you defy me again? Then hear my judgment. You are no heir, no princess, no blood of mine. Tonight you end, and your human dies with you. The hall shook as his power surged, black energy rising like a storm, shadows curling across the floor, fangs flashing from his warriors, but the princess did not bow. She removed her gloves, her glow spilling free. Brighter than ever before, the hall bathed in light, nobles shielding their eyes, warriors trembling. Her voice rang across the chamber, clear and fierce. I am no longer your shadow. I am no longer your weapon. I am no longer your silence. I am light, I am feeling, I am more than you ever allowed me to be. The king roared. His shadow lunged forward, blades of black tearing through the air. But she raised her glowing hands, and the light met the shadow. The hall cracked with thunder. Energy exploded. The boy moved fast, dodging through the chaos, striking down guards with clever hands, not stronger but smarter, using their weight against them. Every move proving that humans were not weak, they were survivors, they were fighters. The alien scientist raised his voice above the storm. This is the future, King, you cannot kill it. No matter how deep your shadows, the light will always return. The king struck again, his power vast, his shadow swallowing pillars, tearing through stone, but the princess stood her ground, her glow brighter, fueled not by pride, but by something new, something fierce and untamed. Her voice shook the air. I am not alone, she cried, her light bursting outward, wrapping the boy, wrapping even some of the warriors, their hearts stirring, their own eyes widening as they felt emotions long buried. The king stumbled, his shadow wavering, his fury wild. No, this cannot be, he roared. You are mine. You belong to me. The princess stepped forward, her glow now blinding, her face fierce yet calm. I belong to no one. Not even you. Her light surged, a final wave that shattered the shadows. broke the throne, split the black crown in two. The hall fell into silence. The king collapsed, his power drained, his voice nothing but a whisper. Feelings. Destroyed me, but the alien answered softly, No, your fear destroyed you. The hall stood quiet, the nobles staring, warriors trembling, some with tears in their eyes, feelings they thought were gone forever now returning. The princess stood tall, her glow slowly fading to a soft silver. The boy at her side, his hand steady on her arm, she looked at her people, her voice strong. No longer will we live as shadows. No longer will we call feelings weakness. We will be more. We will be whole. The crowd bowed, some in fear, some in awe, but many with hope. The boy looked at her, a faint smile on his lips. So this is your throne now, not one of stone, but one of light. She turned to him, her lips curving into something she had never known. A true smile. No, not mine alone, ours. The alien scientist stepped forward, his old eyes shining. The first star has risen, and others will follow. Tonight is not the end. It is the beginning. Outside, the city lights glowed brighter than ever. Humans and vampires looked to the sky, where for the first time in memory, they saw a star break through the eternal clouds, shining down on them all. The princess who once was arrogant, cold, untouchable, now stood as something new, glowing in the dark, carrying feelings she once denied, and beside her a human who had no claws, no fangs, no power, but the courage to stand tall. Together, they had changed not only themselves, but the fate of an entire world. And in the silence that followed, every heart, human and vampire alike, began to beat a little louder, a little freer.